some paranormal professionals started contacting me after the video and telling me that what Chris saw was not human at all. What he saw was never even alive, but something darker than that.
I saw like this shadow figure walking around. I don't quite remember where it came from, but it was just there.
Well, like I said, the demon he won, because that's what terrified your dad to move out of there. That's just part of that demon's plan.
Hello darlings, it's me, Christine D'Amore. So today I'm going to be sharing part 5 of my Real Haunted House series. But before I jump into the long-awaited story time, I would like to introduce this video's sponsor, POSHMARK. I actually consider this sponsorship a late Christmas gift to myself, and they contacted me at the perfect time because I literally just posted a ton of my makeup on there that I don't use in my closet in the POSHMARK app. So yes, I've been using POSHMARK before they even reach out to me. And when you download the app, you are allowed to both sell items in your closet or you can purchase items from other people's closet, and it's a great way to get brands like Louis Vuitton and Nike and Adidas for a really big discount. So some items on there are brand new, some are gently used. And if you take a look at my personal closet here, you will see that I have brands like Morphe, YSL, Too Faced on there because sometimes I just have so much makeup that I don't need. So I will sell it in my closet for a huge discount. So make sure that you download the POSHMARK app to check out mine and other people's closets. I will include the link to download the POSHMARK app down below in the description bar and the link to my personal closet down below. And thank you so much to POSHMARK for sponsoring this video. Now let's go ahead and move on to the long-awaited part 5 of my haunted home series. As you guys know, I always try to bring in another person who was a witness to all of this paranormal activity into my videos, in which case you have seen my mom, my aunt, and my fiance being featured in my previous videos. But as I mentioned to you in part 3 of my haunted house series, I told you that my mom did not want to be included in any of these videos anymore. But I decided to try one last time to convince her to be interviewed for the end of the series. And she finally agreed. So in this video, you're going to hear my mom share one final story with you. Not only that, but I will have one more witness that has never been featured in any of my previous Storytime videos before, and we're going to be calling my sister Alexandria, who lived in my family's haunted house. And you'll remember her from part 1 of the series when I talked about my sister who no longer wanted to sleep in her own room at night, so she made my parents move her bed into our sister Angie's room. So make sure that you stay tuned throughout this whole video to make sure that you don't miss when I call them. Also, if you haven't already joined our D'Amore Darling family, make sure that you do join. You're definitely welcome to sit with us. So go ahead and hit that red button down below to subscribe and hit the notification button as well so that you are the first to be notified of all these crazy videos here on my channel. So now without further ado, let's go ahead and begin the story time. From my mom being touched viciously by a hand that she couldn't see on her legs while in bed, to waking up with letters and numbers being scratched into her stomach, my mom had been getting the worst of the paranormal encounters until one day my fiance Chris was attacked by a tall, dark shadow figure in the middle of the night. You would remember this from part 4 of this series, but what we didn't know until after we shot that video is that there is a darker story to the humanoid black figure that darted across the room, basically attacking Chris. You can even see Chris explain what we thought this figure was after all these years.
I shut the door behind me, and of course I'm already tense and things like that. I'm using the moonlight that is shining through the window to navigate myself back to bed. As I'm going back to the bed, I noticed a full body apparition. If you don't know what that is, it's literally a ghost. It's a full figure. I saw the outline of an actual person. So I'm standing at the door, looking at the window, trying to navigate, and when I look up, of course, there's this apparition, this ghost, that is blocking out the moonlight from the window. It's so dark and eerie, it was actually just as tall as the window, which is very creepy, getting goosebumps as I'm thinking about it right now. It crosses the window, blacks out that moonlight, so it goes right across the window. It's in the darkest part of the room, and I can still see how dark it was. that figure was darker than the dark in the room. And as it's right there in the corner of the room, it jets right at me. The creepiest thing that has ever happened to me, and I just get the chills. And I mean, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. Of course, I'm freaking out. She's already been experiencing all these things with the lights turning on and off. I don't want to freak her out. So I get in bed next to her, put the covers over my head, and I do not want to move.
Well, what's interesting about that is that when Chris defined what he saw as a ghost, that's exactly what we assumed we were dealing with in my parents' house that whole time. A ghost, by definition, is the soul of a dead person, believed to be an inhabitant of the unseen world or to appear to the living in bodily form. Basically meaning a ghost is a human that was once alive, but now that soul is wandering outside of its body. But some paranormal professionals started contacting me after the video and telling me that what Chris saw, by description, was not human at all. What he saw was never even alive, but something darker than that. And my mom and my dad's home was being terrorized by a shadow person. As described on several paranormal websites, there are more than one type of shadow person. There is the lurking shadow figure, which will stand in doorways or corners and just watch their victims. These types of shadow entities don't generally have to have any intent, but they are just observing. Then there are the visitor shadow people who are seen typically going from one place to another and seem not to particularly interest themselves in the goings on of those who observe them. Then there are the omen shadow figures, which bring negative experiences that are generally associated with just one person, stopping only after the event or tragedy has taken place. But what we were dealing with was the most malevolent kind. My family was dealing with a haunting shadow person. In general, those that haunt a location tend to be more malevolent and dangerous to encounter, and they're less likely to flee when spotted and may actually choose to attack instead. The least malevolent of this class are simply spirits that are negative in nature. At the other extreme end of the spectrum are the worst of the shadow people, the demonic shadow creatures. And they usually want to express their emotions on us. For weaker ones, that could be scratches and sick feelings. Stronger entities are capable of full-on possessions, throwing objects or shoving people. But before I move on, I want to give you guys all a clear comparison of what we experienced versus what characteristics paranormal experts are using to classify shadow people hauntings. They react when they are observed, unnaturally fast. They seem evil in nature and will watch you when you're working or sleeping or when the lights are dim or dark. Some final statements about shadow people are not human. They look tall, big, and dark, and these types of shadow people are in Indian legends. Shadow people may be linked to a location or a place and they stay there, and most shadow people are tall, about 6 to 7 feet. The shadow people watch you from a corner of the room. And as you all know, the next morning after Chris saw the shadow figure come at him, he told me about it and then it hit me. My mom told me a story that summer before, which was about 4 months prior to Chris's incident, of something that she saw that fit a similar description. Basically, my mom was in the driveway and saw someone that was really tall walk from the fireplace / guest house area outside and walk into the house. I'm just gonna call my mom so that she can explain it, and you can decide for yourself if my fiance and my mom saw the same thing or not.
Hello?
Can you tell me about what happened outside? Remember you saw the shadow the first time?
It was one summer. It was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon out there, and I was cleaning up my Mercedes. The windshield, I was trying to wipe it with a Windex, and when I saw this guy, I could see it from the corner of my eye, coming from that fireplace between the house and a small house. As I could see it, the person from the side of my eyes, like walking towards the house from the fireplace. So I turned my head to see if it was really a person. When I noticed that, I turned my eyes towards it when I saw he was already over there by the column of the outside of the house, entering the door of the house. And I could tell how tall he was, because outside of that house, there has some kind of marking point outside of the house. And that's how tall he was. He was like 6'2". And I could only see his black collar. The back of my mind was like, maybe this is intruder, and the ghost happens to be inside the house. So I got out of the car right away, because he went inside the house. So I went in the house, and the girls were there in the family room. And I said, girls, did you notice there's a guy came inside the house? And Angela goes, no, we didn't. What guy? And so I went back, and I started looking at the fireplace, staring. I said, if he was a real person, why would he come from that area? You know, the garden area? He just came out from nowhere. I was like puzzled at that time, like don't know what to say, don't know what to something. It was like weird. It was a person. It was what? It was something. Like, what's that? It was like.
Do you think it was that guy that touched you on your leg?
I don't know. Hopefully, that's what terrified me that evening when he was poking my leg.
There's something called shadow figures, right? Shadow figures are not human, and
What are those, devil?
sometimes they are. There's 4 different kinds of shadow
Maybe
figures.
demons,
That's why you were getting scratched, and that's why it's strong enough to, you know, when Chris saw it in the room in the dark, and then it came at him, it just like ran towards him. Chris.
Where? That Woodland House?
Yeah.
There's demon over there? Mm-hmm. Really?
Okay, listen. So what they try to do is they try to bring bad omen. You know what that is, right? Bad luck. So that's why I feel like you. Well, I'm not gonna put this on camera, but that's why I feel like you guys like.
Yeah.
There was like a lot of
Because
negative
before
energy
that,
there.
You know, we never really had the stupid things going on.
I know. That's what I'm
But
saying. You
after
guys
we
were
got
like.
into the woodland, I discovered that.
I'm not gonna put this in the video, but I'm just saying, like, it all makes sense because ever since you guys moved there, before then, you guys were like. So I feel like there was dark energy.
Was Angela, she was seeing this thing with red eyes in her closet.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what it is.
It was really like terrified me because the demon can also penetrate into your soul.
No, that's exactly. I never knew about that, but that's exactly what it is. The shadow figure, they say sometimes you'll see red eyes. So I asked Chris, did you see red eyes? He said no, it was just all dark. But it was just as...
Yes, that's what Angela kept telling me in her closet. That's why I did some kind of candle, like the palm leaves that we get from the church in her room to cast it out.
That's the closet that was sliding open on its own.
Yeah, and she told me that one time, and I said, really, honey? That really scared me because that demons can get into your body and make you kill people.
I'm telling you, that's why everything went so badly in that house.
And that's what terrified me when you're... That's why I always run away right away from the house.
So maybe it's a good thing that you guys had to move out of that house then.
Well, like I said, the demon, he won't, because that's what terrified your dad, to move out of there. That's just part of that demon's plan. I just so angry about this whole thing when I connected all of that to see the real picture of it. It makes me mad, really.
Now, the most interesting thing that I found out about this is that neither my mom nor Chris knew about one another's stories until the day that I made the connection in my head that both people described the exact same thing to each other. And I immediately brought both my mom and my fiance together into the living room, and I asked them both to describe what they saw. They were describing the same exact figure, and they almost seemed relieved that they weren't the only ones that saw the same exact thing. And the fact that they both described this figure as darker than dark and how tall it was. And if we go back and look at the characteristic descriptions, we can plain as day see, boom, right there, very tall. Very tall, very tall. I thought that we only have the memories of my mom and my fiance to go off of until recently. One day I get a call from my sister Alex, and she tells me this.
So I went to the library, which had like these 2 chairs that overlooked the living room and everything and the door. At some point I looked down and I saw like this like shadow figure like walking around. I can't quite remember where it came from, but it was just there. It was kind of just standing there. It was just tall.
How did you realize that it was tall?
Comparing it to the doorway, it kind of just disappeared.
How did you know that it wasn't just like a random shadow from something?
Because it was like completely black. If it were like an opacity level like in Photoshop and stuff, it would be like 90% opacity. Like, I checked all the rooms, but I couldn't see anybody, so I was just scared. Let
me know down in the comments below what you think was happening in my parents' house. I have my own personal opinion based on a lot of evidence that I will share in the very last video of this series, which will likely be part 7 or 8. And I am really glad that I've been taking my time with this series because I am constantly finding new evidence that is leading me closer and closer to the truth. And I have enough stories for about 2 more videos in this series, which will get more terrifying than what you have already heard in any of these videos, and there's a reason why I am saving them to the end of the series. I just want to respect everyone, and I've been waiting for permission to share these. Also, I've been wanting to take a special trip up north to visit my parents' old house in Wild Wings community in Woodland and talk to the new owners, because there's a high probability that this is still happening in that house, which could explain why public records show that the house has been bought and sold several times within just a few years of my parents selling it. I mean, one of the characteristics of a haunting shadow person is that the shadow person may be linked or tied to a location or place. So they stay there, and is it the land, or did something so bad happen on the land years ago before homes were built over that some negative force attached itself to the land that just so happened to be where my parents' house was built? Make sure that you're subscribed to find out very, very soon. By the way, if you guys get this video to 10,000 likes, I will buy a plane ticket just to fly to Woodland and talk to the new homeowners. So make sure that you hit that like button, share the video series with your friends. I'll have a playlist to the entire series from beginning to end linked down below. Also, don't forget to download the POSHMARK app using the link down below, and make sure that you're subscribed by hitting the red button down below, and hit the notification button as well so that you're the first to be notified of all of these crazy videos that are on my channel. And don't forget to follow me on social media. I'll have all of my links listed down below as well. As always, I love you darlings very much, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, darlings. Mwah.